My name is Brenda Lynn Kirenge. I'm a storyteller, MC, and coach, and I champion authentic living as a lifestyle. One of the best ways to do this is through self awareness. If you have watched my content, you will notice that we've been covering self awareness and the tools of self awareness. These are the kind of things that would help you to become more self aware. One of my favorite tools is journaling. I'm always preaching about journaling. If you're out there and you don't have a journal and you've not yet started to journal, please go and watch that video that I did about journaling. Okay. So the last conversation we had was about self-identity. I was talking about identity of self as a gateway to self-awareness. And I really broke down what identity is. We said identity is the foundation of who you are. Yeah. For you to know who you are, for you to be self aware, you need to understand identity, what it is, and how it influences you, how it influences the decisions you make, the things you do, and how you play into it. Let us do a quick recap. We said identity is a construction of who you perceive yourself to be or who other people perceive you to be. We also said that when you are born, there's a blank space. If you're working with a Word document, it's blank. If you have a blank space and you get to fill that space with information about yourself, be it from other people, be it from yourself, be it from the media, be it from, society, that is identity. We looked at identity as a biodata about yourself that you're filling in or someone is filling in for you. And we said, why is identity important? Because it gives you a sense of belonging. Everyone, as long as you're a human being, you have a desire to belong somewhere. Yeah. And then we also looked at the different kinds of identity. We talked about family identity, we talked about culture identity, we talked about ethnic identities, we talked about religious identities, political identities, professional identities, academic identities, about, do I remember, societal identities. And now with the advancement of technology, we have online identities. And so we have multiple identities that we have constructed for ourselves or that we keep constructing. You can marry into a family and now you start to identify with that family. When you start to work with a certain organization or corporate brand, all of a sudden you are part of that identity, you identify with that place. Okay. If you say get a degree of any, bachelor's, master's, PhD, now that identity starts to develop. So identity gives you a sense of belonging. Again, we say that identity is very important. It not only gives you a sense of belonging, but it can also boost your confidence. It can give you a sense of purpose. It can give you a sense of community. It can give you a sense of belonging. It can give you a boost in your confidence. It's actually a good thing. And the more you get to know your identities and you're aware of them, the more self-aware you become. However, I have to mention that identity can also be a double-edged sword. How? You can also be so attached to your identities that you lose yourself in them, or you stop living an authentic life because you are so taken up with identifying with certain things, certain people, certain places. And so you can lose yourself, you can lose your confidence because of identities, you can get misaligned purposes because you're very attached to an identity. You can also be uh, very confused because of identity, and then you can be under a lot of pressure to do things that don't align with who you are because of identity. So identity is good, but it also can be bad. That is why I keep referring to identity, especially self-identity, as a tool. Just like you have a knife, which you can use to peel matoke or peel something and eat, or a fruit, you can also use it to harm someone. Or just like you have fire that you can use to cook food, you can also use it to, commit a crime like arson. So it's very important for us to learn how to navigate these identities. What's the first way or the best way for me to start to learn how to navigate these identities. My number one recommendation is that you dismantle the identities. They are very beautiful. They are very good to have. They'll give you a sense of belonging. They'll give you a sense of purpose. I mean, there's something beautiful about identity. I think you see it also uh, in sports when we are supporting a team for the Ugandan team, or when we are supporting a team from Africa against any other person. That's national identity, that's continental identity, global identity. It's amazing. And I want you to pursue knowledge about the identities that you relate with the most, so that the more you know about them, the more you're self aware. But I also want you to learn to dismantle them. Know them, but then dismantle them. Do not get too attached to them, because if you don't dismantle, you won't understand, you won't learn, you won't be open minded. And you've seen this very many times, even like with religious identities. Oh, I belong to this religion, therefore you cannot say anything that doesn't align with what I believe. Yeah. The other thing is why you need to dismantle them is because they get to your belief system. And once they get into your belief system, it's very hard for you to unlearn and learn anything new, because in your mind, what you believe is the gospel truth and nothing but the truth. And whereas that can be good in certain instances, it can also be extreme. So it's very, very important for us to learn to dismantle identities. We build them, but dismantle them. Do not get too attached. Do not be extreme with them. Just understand them as tools, that they are good for you when you need them, but they are not the only way to understand who you are. And I know that may sound confusing right now, because I'm already saying that, look, identity is who you believe to be and who you perceive yourself to be, not that it is not necessarily who you are. But we shall get to that point later on as we go ahead with the series on self awareness. Yes, so once you dismantle these identities, now you start to navigate them with more self awareness. Once again, you need a journal. You need a journal so that you can dismantle. This is what I know about myself. I'm this, I'm that. I belong here. I'm this tribe. This is what we do. I go to this workplace. Da, da, da. Then after that, say, but is this who I am? No, this is who I believe to be. This is who I perceive myself to be. But this is not who I am. So you learn to dismantle the status quo. And that can be very hard for so many people, because all they ever know are those identities that they have come up with. Okay, I've already broken down a number of identities, different categories here and there. But there's one that usually stands out for me that I want us to use as a basis to now dive deeper into the African identity. Which one would you think out of all the ones I've listed? I want to list them again. Let me list them again so that we kind of understand these identities. Yeah. So I said there's family. For you to understand family, is basically where you're born, which family you're born into, or which family you get married into, right? And then there's cultural, which is beliefs, traditions, rituals, values, norms, and things that you practice. Sometimes under culture, there's also language, there's also, yeah, there's ethnicity, ethnic identity, there's the gender identity. Uh, Okay, for this one, I'll just stick to what we know really. Biologically, we are looking at male and female. I won't speak for other genders. Then we'll look at religious identity, sexual orientation. This is sexual orientation, practices, styles. Okay, no, not styles. Communal identities, the social identities like community. A lot of communities are formed online. So, physical communities, and a lot of them are based on like geographical location. We can also form communities based on our interests, based on the things we like to do. And then you have social identities that's subscribing to certain membership groups, certain places, exclusive clubs or Rotary clubs, so things like that, where you are part of a community that has special benefits. And then you have the national one, where you belong to a certain state or nation. There we also can consider the language, because sometimes people identify according to the language of a nation. There's like various categories within the different categories of identity. So some of them have like breakdowns. You also have, of course, cultural elements. You also have political affiliations, especially under national identity. You also are looking at political identity. You've seen how it plays out especially in the politics globally, but also in Uganda, also in Africa. So that one is a huge one. Like, people will do a lot of things for identity. I want you to tell me what identity you relate to the most, which one applies to you the most. Let's keep in touch on Authentic Conversations, where we talk about self-awareness, authenticity, and yeah, see you next time to discuss the African identity.